Hey guys, this is Prankur. Welcome to my channel Begin Endless Automation, and today we are going to see some basic but very important Excel activities in UiPath. Nowadays, Excel is an integral part of all the projects, whether it is a enterprise level project, a POC, or any in-house project. You must have knowledge about Excel automation. It is very important. So today we are going to see what is Excel application scope, what is workbook, Excel application, how to use read range, write range, append range, copying a sheet, reading rows and columns, getting workbook sheets, and so many activities. So let us begin. So guys, this is UiPath Studio, and first of all we'll see how many ways you can use Excel activities. Mainly there are two ways in which you can use Excel activities. One is Excel application scope and another one is workbook activities. The basic difference between these two activities is that there is a prerequisite that Excel has to be installed on your system if you are using Excel application scope, and if you don't have Excel installed on your system, then you'll have to use workbook activities. So this means that if you have Excel installed on your system, then you can use Excel application scope also and workbook activities also. So now we'll have a look at Excel application scope first. So let me drag. If you type Excel here, you can find in app integration Excel, there are Excel activities. So first of all, let me drag and drop this Excel application scope. This is a container, and if you want to use Excel application scope, then all the activities must be inside this container. Let me try to put one activity out of the scope. So it will throw me an error that activity is valid only inside the Excel application scope. So whatever activity you would be using, it should be inside this Excel application scope. However, if you go to workbook activities, let me type workbook. Now if we see in system file, we have workbook activities. So you can see that we have very limited set of activities here as compared to Excel application scope. But if you drag and drop one activity here, you don't need any container here. There is no container. You can just drag and drop individual activities and you can use them. So let's start our demo with Excel activities for now. So I'll drag and drop this Excel application scope and I'll select Excel workbook, what I have created for this demo. This is sample Excel. Now if you go to properties panel, if you see the output of Excel application scope is a workbook. I have seen people answering that output of Excel application scope is a data table. So it is not, it is a workbook, and read range output is data table. Now if we see in the properties, if you have a password protected workbook, you can provide or edit the password here. Then we have this auto save option, create new file, macro settings. Macro settings you can enable or disable all, or it can read the settings from Excel. Now what is this auto save? If you leave it unchecked, all your work would be unsaved. In that case, you would have to, there is an activity save workbook, you will have to use this activity. If you don't want to use this activity, then you should check this auto save checkbox. Now create new file is nothing but, let's say I have given this Excel name here sorry, and there is no such workbook exists, so it will create a new file. If that file exists, that it will perform the operations over that file which exists. Now read only is, it will open the file in the read only mode. And we have this feature also visible, it is a boolean. If you check this, what you can do, even if your Excel file is open, you can work on that file. This option is not there in the workbook activities. If you uncheck it, everything will happen in background. So these are some of the properties of the Excel application scope. Now let us quickly try to read our workbook. So if I drag and drop this read range activity, I'll just have to provide the sheet name, and as you can see, the output would be data table in this case. So let's say I have provided new DT. You can just Control K and create a new variable. So I am creating this new DT. This is the range. Let's say this is our workbook, so our sheet name is sheet 1, and this is the range. So let's say if I want to use from A1 till D3, so what I can do, I will write here A1 till D3. So it will read only these 3 rows. If you leave it blank, it will read the whole sheet. Now if you go to properties, we have 3 very important properties. Add headers. If you uncheck this, it will not treat this as a header. It will treat this as a normal row. Otherwise, if you check it, it will treat that as a header. Preserve format, if you hover around it, it will say that if you have data type or formatting like currency, date, so it will preserve that format. Otherwise, the format would be gone. Now, last thing is use filter. Let's say I have a filter applied already on name. We'll see the example also. So let's say I have this filter applied and I check this. Now what I'll do, I'll write the data what we are reading in the same workbook in a different sheet. So this should be our data table, new DT we are reading, and sheet name would be 2. So what we are doing, we are reading the data whatever is here along with the filter, and we'll write into a new sheet. So let me run this, and it should create a new sheet, sheet 2, with the filtered data. So as you can see, it has copied the data, new sheet, sheet 2. Now what we can do, see, you can see one thing, there are no headers when we write the data in the sheet 2. Why? Because if you go and check the properties of write range activity, there is one option, add headers. If you uncheck it, if you check it, then it will provide you headers also. Now let's do one thing. In this read range, let's remove this filter, and let me type it sheet 3. So what it will do, it will read all the data ignoring the filter, and it will write all the data in sheet 3. So let's see what it does. It should create a new sheet, sheet 3, and it will dump all the data there. So now we have headers also, and it has created a new sheet with the same data. So it ignored the filter. So that's how we can read and write the data. Now let's see append range activity. Instead of the write range activity, we'll use append range. So append range, what it does, it writes the data from the last row. It checks where is the data written in the last row. After that, it writes the data. So it appends the data. Now let's see, in the sheet 2 we have only 3 rows. So what I'll do, I'll read sheet 1, this one, and I'll copy all the data into sheet 2. So it should write it from the row 4. So I'll type it here, append range, drag and drop here, type new DT. We have this variable. So what it will do, it will append sheet 1 to sheet 2. Now if you are using append range, you should know that append range never copies header. It will only append the data. So you can put a condition like this: if one file exists, then it should append the data. If it doesn't exist, then it should use a write range activity and create a new file. So let me try to run this now. It should append the data from row 4. So now let's go back to sheet, and we can see that it has appended the data from here. Now let's do some formatting. Let's do bold here. I'll put some color here. So what would happen if you want to copy the formatting also and copy into another sheet? So the way to do is there is an activity, copy sheet. So I'll drag and drop here. So what it will do, if you see in the properties, so destination file path you will have to provide. So we want to copy the sheet in the same workbook. We'll provide this, and we want to create a new sheet, copy sheet. So what it will do, it will read the data from sheet 1. We can remove this read range also. So it will read the data from sheet 1 and create a new sheet, copy sheet, with the formatting. So let's run it now and see what it does. Now if you go to that sheet, so it has not, okay, so it has copied the data from sheet 1, and if we go to sheet 1, there was no formatting. Formatting is in the sheet 3. So let me give the input sheet as sheet 3. Let me try to run it and delete this sheet for now. Let's see what happens. So it should create the sheet with formatting now. So as you can see, it has created copy sheet with all the formatting. So this is how you can use this copy sheet activity. Now what would happen if you, let's say if you don't know how many sheets are there, or you don't know the sheet name. In that case, if you only know the index of the sheet, you don't know the sheet name. So what you can do, there are two activities. One is this get worksheet, and another one is get workbook sheet, and another one is get workbook sheets. So what this activity will do, if you provide any index here, let's say 3, so what it should do, at the third index we have 1, 2 and 3. So it should provide the third sheet name. So I don't have a variable, so let's create a variable sheet name, and let's have a message box here. After that we'll see this workbook sheets. So variable this VA sheet names. Let me copy. Now let's run it and see what sheet name it gives us. So as you can see, it has given us the copy sheet name because we have provided the indexes 3. Indexes always starts from zeros, 0, 1, 2 and 3. Position always starts from 1 and index always starts from 0. So it has provided the sheet name of third sheet, which has index 3. So this is how you can get the sheet name if you know the index. Now let's see how we can get all the sheets. Let me uncomment this one, and let's there is a tip that, let's say if you don't know what kind of data type this activity will return, so what you can do, you can simply go here and in the output you can press Ctrl K and create your variable like all sheets. So now if you go to where all sheets, so you can see that it will return a list of strings. So what it will do, if you use this activity, it will provide all the sheet names in a list. Now let's have a for each loop. And whenever you use this for each loop, not the data table one, which is specific to data tables, so don't forget to change the type argument. So here we would be iterating on list of strings, so our input type would be string. So the funda is whatever collection you have, a single element of that, what data type it is using, that would be your type argument. So in this case it would be a string. So I'll pass variable all sheet, and I'll have a message box here, and now I'll just print this item. So let's see what it provides us. So it has provided the first sheet, sheet 2, and sheet 3, sheet 1, and copy sheet. So it provided us all the sheet names, and this is how you can just inside this for each loop, if you want to iterate on all the sheet, you can use read range, append range on this sheet name, and you can do your stuff. Now let's see, there are some activities like get selected range, delete range, and copy paste range. So these are some small but helpful activities. So let's use them one by one and see how they work. So first of all, I'll see how get selected range works. So there is an activity get selected range. What I should provide a range here. Actually I should provide a variable var range. So what it will do, let's say let me remove this filter. So let's say I have selected, in my Excel sheet I have selected these 3 rows, and I want whatever is the selected area, it should return the range of that. So now if I run it, so basically we have selected in sheet 1, so it should provide us that range from A1 till D4. Oh my bad, we don't have a message box to show that. So it should be var range. Now let me run it again quickly. It should show us the range. So you can see that selected range was A1 till D4. So it has provided that range to us. Now we will see how to use delete range. Now if I write here delete range, so it will provide us this activity. So let's drag and drop here. Now let's say I want to delete this range from A14 till D14. So what I'll do, I'll just provide A14 till D14 from sheet 1, and let's say put done here. So what it should do from sheet 1, should remove this 14th row. Let me run it and see if it removes the data. So as you can see, it has removed the data from A14 till D14. So this is how you can use this delete range activity. Now what we can do, there is one more activity which is copy paste range. So what it will do, it will copy range from where you will provide, and it will paste to a particular cell what you will provide. So let's say our destination cell is G4. I want to paste it from G4. Destination sheet, I want to do it in sheet 1 only. Input sheet is sheet 1, and range I want to do from A1 till D4. So I should provide A1 till D4. So it should copy this much data and paste from the G4 cell. Let me run it now. let's see if it does that. So you can see that it copies the data from A1 to D4 and it pasted starting from G4. So this is how you can use copy paste range. Now there is one more activity, which is lookup range. It provides you can provide range here, and you can provide value to be searched, and it will, let me create a variable result. So let's print a result here. Now what it will do, it will search. As of now I have not provided any range in this lookup activity. Let's say if I have written UiPath here, so now let me run it. So you can see that it has provided H9. Okay, so this is how you can search the data. Now we had two places where UiPath was written, but it has written as H9 because it was coming in the 9th row, and this UiPath is coming in the 14th row. Let's say if you want to search in C cell only, so what you can do, you can provide a range. As of now I have not provided any range, so you can provide a range like let me provide from C1 to C20 I want to search. Now if I run it, so it should provide us this value C14. So you can see that it has provided us this UiPath. So this is how you can find any range from the keyword you will provide, and from there you can use like read range, append range, or any other activity. This is how you can use lookup range also. Now lastly, let's see if you want to add some rows or columns into existing sheet, how you can do that. So what you can do, there is activity insert delete rows and insert delete columns. So in the same activity we have this input add or remove. Based on that it will add or delete rows. So let's say I want to add 4 rows after the position, or at the position I would say 5. So, and just remember, this is the position. It will always start from 1, 2 and 3. It will not start from 0. So in this sheet 1 we'll add 4 rows at 5th position. So let's run it. It should add 4 rows in sheet 1. So this message box is empty because we have printed here variable result, but result is nothing. So it has added 4 rows here. Let's do one thing. Delete. We can use the delete function also. So let's select remove here, and I should type done here instead. Now what it should do, it should delete all the rows what it inserted before. So you can see it has deleted. In the same way, what you can do, let me remove this rows activity and let me drag and drop this column activity. So let's say if I want to add 2 columns from position 2 in the sheet 1, I want to add for now, and let's run it. It should add 2 columns here. So as you can see, it has added 2 columns here. Now let's go ahead and quickly remove these columns too. So you can see it has deleted the columns. So this was the all information about some basic stuff, but very important activities for Excel automation. Now, if we see some of the best practices what you should be using while you uh, doing Excel automation. First thing is, whenever you want to use uh, this Excel application scope or workbook activities like read or write range, you should use kill process before using the Excel automation. You can just go ahead. There is an activity. I'll show you kill process. You can drag and drop here before reading or writing, and you can just provide the process name as Excel here, and it will kill all the instances what are currently running, so that it can be fresh instance can be used. So this is the first thing. Second thing, whenever you are working on production and dev environment or stage environment, you should always, so the version of all the environment of Excel should be same. And secondly, thirdly, instead of filtering the data table within the Excel application, you should be using filter data table activity. Let me show you. We have this filter data table activity. So whenever you use read range, it provides data table output. So what you can do, you can provide the input and output data table and remove the rows or columns from here. So that is recommended instead of doing this in the Excel application itself. And lastly, you should use send hotkey activities instead of when you are doing UI automation, instead of directly click activity or any other activity, you should use send hotkey activities. So I hope this was helpful session for you for the Excel activities. These are some of the basic activities, and whenever you are working on Excel automation, you must be knowing about data tables also. So we would be having another session or video on data table activities also, which is also very important if you have large amount of data and you are performing some operations on your data. So till then, thank you so much for watching.